Hi, everyone. Welcome to a message of hope. This is Pastor Mark bringing you the 26th miracle of Jesus. It is raising Lazarus from the dead. This is found only in John chapter 11. This is the third raising of the dead miracle that Jesus has done. The first was Jairus' daughter. We are finding Jesus telling his disciples, don't tell anybody that I've raised her from the dead. And then he raises the little boy from the dead, and he also tells them, don't tell anybody. I don't know what you would do if you had a little one that had died, if you would tell anyone. Jesus obviously just didn't want his ministry to begin yet, and so asked everybody to be quiet. Both of those happened in the very, very beginning of his ministry. This, however, is a lot different. This is the 11th chapter of John. It happens right before Passover. There are thousands of people coming to Jerusalem for Passover. Jesus in midday starts to handle this situation, baffling everybody around him. And so the chapter 11 starts with Jesus being approached by people telling him they've got a message from Martha and Mary that Lazarus is dying, that he should come, and he puts it off for 2 days, and the disciples are left baffled. Why are you putting this off for your friend who's dying? And he tells them this is to glorify God. That's why. It's to glorify the Son. That's what we're doing this for. And he's just asleep. We find the greatest explanation of the state of the dead here in this chapter. We say he's not dead, he's asleep. And the disciples are confused by that conversation, but we later know why. In those days, it was proved that after a person had been dead for 4 days, they were actually dead. In the first two miracles, the boy and Jairus' daughter, they'd only been dead a short time, same day. He touches the coffin for the little boy at Nain, and he comes back to life. He hears on the way that Jairus' daughter has died. He goes and has everybody leave and raises her. And this one, Lazarus, he loves. He's not a stranger, and he has died, and he's fresh. And so upon his arrival, I'm in chapter 11, verse 17 of John. It says, Jesus found Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem, and a lot of people had come from Jerusalem to help Mary and Martha mourn. And they said, Martha approaches Jesus first and says, Lord, if you had been here, you would have been able to save my brother. He wouldn't have died. But I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask. And he said, your brother will rise. Martha says, I know he'll rise again in the resurrection on the last day. He says, no, I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me will live even though he dies, and whoever lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this? That question is for the reader too. Do you believe this? That we will die someday, but we will be raised up with Jesus again. We'll go to sleep and we'll be able to be risen again. Martha says that, and she runs off, and then Mary does the same thing, and then he asks to see the body. And when Jesus saw Mary weeping and the Jews had come along with her, he was deeply moved in the spirit. I like to know that God is deeply moved and mourns when we do, because sadness is real. Where have you laid him? Come and see. And the shortest sentence in the New Testament is Jesus wept in verse 35. I like to think that Jesus weeps with us in our sadness. And the Jews said, see how he loved him, but couldn't he have raised him if he was here, if he helped the blind people? And the doubt comes in. So deeply moved, he goes to the tomb and says, move the stone away. And they said, Lord, it's going to stink if we open it up. And he said, didn't you believe me? It's going to glorify God. And open it up. And so they do. Jesus looks up in broad daylight, is loud in front of all the Pharisees, in front of all the weepers, in front of the disciples, Mary and Martha, and everybody else. Father, I thank you that you heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that you might believe that you sent me. When he said this, Jesus called in a loud voice, Lazarus, come out. Then the dead man came out. His hands and feet were wrapped in strips of linen and a cloth around his face, and he says, take the grave clothes off him and give him something to eat. Someday we will all rise together, and that grave clothes will be taken off, and we will be able to be with Jesus. This is the greatest miracle besides Jesus being raised from the dead himself. May you have that confidence today that when you die, you go to sleep, and that Jesus will rise someday with you. God bless you. Take care, as Pastor Mark saying. Until next time.